Welcome everyone to today's webinar, where we will be looking at the role of artificial intelligence in writing letters of recommendation. The event is brought to you by AICA, AI in College Admissions. That is our community, and we are all advisors, part of that community. We're glad that you've joined us to explore this really important topic. Artificial intelligence is really reshaping how we approach college admissions. And today we're going to be looking at one of those aspects, the letter of recommendation. We're going to be looking at how this traditionally this very time-consuming aspect of college admissions, how this new technology can possibly help make it easier for educators to manage this process, but while still maintaining the value of that letter writing process. Before we get started, before I introduce our panelists that are going to be talking with us today, I do want to acknowledge a few things about artificial intelligence. And this is something I think is very important, that any conversation around artificial intelligence, that we start with this acknowledgement. That, these tools, it's really crucial that we remember that unfortunately that they were built disregarding the rights of many authors and creators in the way that they were made. They were built on systems that often exploit vulnerable workers. And the environmental impact is also very significant of these tools, as the infrastructure that's required for AI continues to strain ecosystems. And that is disproportionately affecting our marginalized communities. So we need to hold space for these realities in any conversation about artificial intelligence. In this way, we can help ensure that as we innovate, as we look towards the future, we're also advocating for ethical and also for sustainable practices here. This technology is here. We really need to learn when and how it can be useful, but we also need to recognize the ethical concerns around its usage. All right, so now that we have that out of the way, I do want to introduce who we have with us. Today we have with us Jeff Neill. He's from Graded, the American School in Sao Paulo. He's coming to us today from Brazil. We also have Miss Elena Hicks. Elena Hicks is the Assistant Vice Provost and Dean of Admission at Southern Methodist University. We also have with us Becky Mulholland, and Becky Mulholland is with us. She's the first-year admissions and operations director of first-year admissions and operations, and she's with us from the University of Rhode Island. And finally, we're so excited that Lily is with us. Lily Fang is the growth manager from CollegeVine, and she's here today to share a tool with us that CollegeVine has. So she's actually going to come back and join us a little bit later in the conversation this morning and showcase that tool for us. Thanks for being here, Lily. And all of you, thanks for this, for taking this time today. So before we get started, hearing from our panelists, I would love to hear from our audience. We have a few polls that we have today to keep you engaged and to hopefully help you kind of think about this important topic. Sorry. All right, we have everybody answering this one. This is in the letters of recommendation. I'm glad we're doing this. Have you used it before? I do see the vast majority have used it, or not the vast majority, but more than half have used it in this process, have tried to use it. So I'm really excited about that. I'm not too surprised. I mean, that obviously the people that are going to show up to a webinar like this are often the people that are engaging in this. And so that's really exciting to see that people have tried to use it or have considered trying to use it. And that group especially, we really think this is going to be really useful for you today. One other poll that I want to ask here before we start, how you've used let's see. I'm a little bit new at the polls, so just give me 1 second. I guess I have to I'm having trouble launching the next one. So we might just get started into the questions. And then as soon as I can, oh, that one ended. There we go. And we are viewing the results now. Awesome. So you can see the results there. More people have used it. And by and far, we all are excited about this or considering using it or using it. One more poll here just about how you, are you using another one of these kind of artificial intelligence, how are you a pro? Are you experimenting with these tools? Oh, let me launch it. All right, I'm going to get better at this. I promise. I'm learning how to use this poll tools here, and I've launched that one. Are you a pro? Are you dabbling? You haven't used it. Where are you today on that? And as you guys are answering that question, I'm going to get started here. I want hearing from our panelists. I have the question for all three of you here. I'd like to hear from you guys about how you're using these tools. Are you using these tools daily? Have you found them useful? And then if you do have one usage, way that you've used it, doesn't have to be a way that you've used it daily, but a way that you used it that you kind of were like, wow, this is useful. And I see, the power of this tool. And I'm really happy that I've found this usage for it. Let's start. Becky, do you want to start with that question? And then Elena, and then we'll hear from Jeff.
Sure. Thank you, Emily, and welcome everyone. So in my role, I'm on the enrollment side, overseeing all first-year admission for all undergraduate programs and operations here at the University of Rhode Island. So we're often finding ourselves on the opposite side of the conversation, making sure that individuals who are submitting materials to us are using AI in a responsible way. We've used it internally, kind of dabbling within our systems to help us expedite with consistency some of the processes that we do. We still review everything with folks on the team. We are not automating, but I will say I have these conversations very often with school counselors that we are working with, and then of course with applicants. And my answer is a little bit different to both of those, and we're obviously going to touch on that today.
Sorry, the click on the mute sometimes doesn't come undone. Good morning to everyone and good afternoon to others. I'm so glad to be with you today. In regard to the use of AI, I have two different hats, one here in the admission office, and then one as a full-time grad student here at the university as well. In the admission office, we are using AI for basic things. I'm going to tell you this, some of the youngest people in the office, like this is a part of their everyday. And so when it comes to writing letters and pulling things together and just being able to check themselves and come up with template kind of ideas, that's the way that it's being used here. We're looking at using it in a more profound way. And I've read several papers about being able to equate using AI to help with non-cognitive aspects and essays, like taking sentences that might say leadership or president and be able to equate that with a rating. We haven't gotten there yet, but we're hopeful for that. From a graduate student point of view, I will tell you that most of my professors ask us not to use it. And I don't know that we always follow those rules, because when it comes to brainstorming, it really does help. So I've enjoyed it immensely, and it's been a great learning experience.
Hi, everyone. I think one of the things that I would like to just jump in and share with you is the transformative power that artificial intelligence has had on my email load. This is, an everyday use case for me, and actually my entire team here at Graded. We use a program called Email Triager. And what that does is it's a closed AI that researches your past emails to draft emails of email responses to new incoming emails. So the number of times, for example, that I get an email that says, the graded SAT test center is closed. How do I register? And I've written that email response hundreds of times. When I open up my email, I look and there's already a draft ready to go. Very much akin to what I'll talk about later with the letter of recommendation writing process. There's an editing process that I need to go through, but the software is quite sophisticated, and it saves me countless hours of time just in the ways in which I'm able to direct that time and energy elsewhere, maybe to the rest of my job, working with kids and proofing essays and that sort of thing. So I would start with that one because I think that's much more of applicable to a far broader audience than just high school, college counselors.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. I have to say I'm jealous listening to you talk about that tool because I do that, but what I do is I take the email, copy it, paste it into ChatGPT, ask for a draft, and then, and make it my own and humanize it and correct it. But to have that, and I know the tools are there. I use a program called, I use Slate, and I know that is in there, but we don't have that tool. It's not available to us yet at my work. So you're very lucky to have that. All really interesting ways that you're using it. A question for Becky and Elena here. Here we are, we're gearing up for the 2025 reading season. Very few universities have actually started that, but we're all looking at our criteria and thinking through, what is important this season, what were, the new things on the horizon. And definitely one of those is more letters potentially written with the help of artificial intelligence. And that's the reality of what we've already saw last year, but we know we're going to be seeing more of that this year. What are the conversations that are going on around that? Are you hearing, is that part of the talk about what's happening in this next cycle? Is this something that you're considering when you're looking at how applications are going to be reviewed this next season? Can you talk a little bit about that?
So I will say that last season, there wasn't a lot of talk about it. But going into this fall, there's more conversation. I think it's for a couple different reasons in the office. One, we've brought on a lot of new folks who embrace AI and feel very comfortable with it. And then we also have folks on the team who haven't been as exposed to it. But when it comes to letters of recommendation, and really, Emily, when it comes to anything that is helpful in our day-to-day to help support students and the jobs that we do, it definitely needs to be embraced. And so just as we talk about students with AI and essays, we can definitely tell when an essay doesn't have that personal touch or warmth to it. It's the same thing, I think, with recommendations, that if AI helps bring together some ideas and then a school counselor personalizes that, we are totally up for it and appreciate their ability to make a process for them just a little easier in some ways. And so I totally support it. And I think, though, that conversations like this help people understand how to use it, when to use it, and to what degree.
So echoing a little bit of what my colleague is saying, I think the conversations were kind of buzzing around at a low level last year. I actually heard more conversation about whether or not universities were going to continue requiring a letter of recommendation. And so there were quite a few panels and discussions on that topic last year. And we landed on the fact that the vast majority of institutions at this point in time will continue to require them. So how do we make it so that our students can still be put in a position where access is not the issue? And that's really why letters of rec have been discussed at various levels for many years. When we have a student coming from a school where the school counselor may have a smaller load, we see the difference in the letter of rec. And it is not, for anything other than the fact there's only so many hours in the day. And that individual just cannot write 3 individualized pages for every single student when they have 450 students on their load. But the universities, ourselves being one of them, still requires that letter of rec. We still read that letter of rec. So how do we set our school counselors up to be successful and therefore benefit our students that are applying, and we can elicit the information we need from that letter of rec? So we are in support of school counselors utilizing AI in a healthy and safe way that can align kind of what they want to say that's standard, but then going in, and as Emily said, putting on that human touch. So there might be a student that has a unique situation that now you have the time to say, all right, I'm going to add this additional information, or I'm going to read through it and I can modify something. But the ability to expand access for our school counselors, therefore our students, by using tools that are vetted and doing so responsibly is something that's going to benefit the students in the end. The universities are happy with it, and the school counselors have the ability to kind of walk away feeling like, yes, I've been able to advocate for all of my students in the way that's appropriate.
Yes, thank you, Becky. And I think this is a great time for this question about our biggest concerns in this. And I'm launching that poll there. What are your biggest concerns to our audience members about AI helping to assist in the letter of writing, the letter of recommendation writing process? So we put a number of things here, and I know, there's probably more than one concern here for you, but what is your biggest concern here today? Moving forward, I invited Jeff today because when I've heard him talk about what he's doing with letters of recommendation and using artificial intelligence, what his team is doing, I have been really amazed and very motivated by what they're doing. And I've also talked a lot. I've gone and talked to other counselors about it. I mean, I'm visiting high schools daily right now, talking with students and helping them apply to Loyola University, Chicago. But in that work, I spend a lot of time with counselors, and I'm always saying, hey, you should look at what Jeff is doing and the way that they're doing this. It's really incredible. So I'm wondering, Jeff, can you walk us through your process of using, how you've incorporated the AI tools into this process, and talk a little bit about how that has streamlined, and enhanced the recommendation process for your team?
Sure, I'll jump in first and piggyback a little bit on what Becky just shared. We've been sort of experimenting this. This is our second cycle, really kind of using artificial intelligence to help us with our letters. Last year at NACAC, there was a presentation where John McLaughlin from Hamilton College did a live reading of a counselor letter of recommendation, a 2-page letter, and he did it in about 1 minute and 17 seconds. And so then that causes pause for some of us on the high school counseling side to think about the hours and hours that we're pouring into each individual letter that we're writing, and finding sort of great, I think, solace in the fact that artificial intelligence can help produce the same end result in much less time. So what we found is, and I'll just give the quick anecdote, that we had a precipitous increase in the connection that we had with our students at the end of last year. Now, from last year to the year before, there was no substantive difference in the programming that we were offering. So the only difference that we could really point to was artificial intelligence, and it was less about sort of advocacy and more about the fact that because we weren't spending so much time writing these letters, we were able to put more time into sitting with the kids, sitting with the students, meeting with them, establishing those relationships. We were pretty blown away by that. But to give you just a quick demonstration, I would start by just sharing that we, at our school, we have our students work on something we call a brag sheet. And for the purpose of this particular demonstration, I have a brag sheet here that I completed myself. I created this myself just in order to check. There was a time when we were really, really worried about the hallucinations of artificial intelligence. So I created a brag sheet myself and kind of walked through it. So what we do, and this is what we did before, we try to aggregate the information from a student's brag sheet. It's a series of, I think, about 25 questions. I've chopped it down a little bit to 20. And I'm happy to share this. I'll put it in the notes afterwards. But it asks them all sorts of questions about themselves. So it comes from the student's voice. And our process is to go through and in an iterative way, ask them repeated questions about themselves. Tell me more about this. You didn't fully answer that question. When you say this, what do you mean? And we do that just through Google. And then this is our prompt, and I'll also share this. But what all I'm going to do is copy it, paste it here into ChatGPT, which is my chatbot of choice. I'll go back to the brag sheet. I'm really just going to copy the whole thing. And then here at the bottom, just paste it in and hit enter. It's able now to handle quite a bit, quite a large chunk of text. And as it's kind of processing, it's, I think maybe flattering for me to read some of these sentences about myself, but the information in it is accurate based upon what came from the brag sheet. Now, from our perspective, what we do is we kind of copy and paste this into a Google Doc and then hack away. I think I'm a pretty fast letter of recommendation writer. When I do it from the blank page, it takes me about 3 hours. And most of that time is spent aggregating and going through documents and things like that to try to get the information that I know I want to share about this student, and then to sort of capture it, twist it into my own words. What this just did, and see if it's done, it's still plugging away. What this does in a matter of minutes would have taken me 2 to 2.5 hours. And I know others out there, it takes them far longer. So one of the questions that inevitably comes up is, how do you prevent it from sounding repetitive or as if it were created by AI? We go to great lengths on 2 different fronts. One, to go through and edit this document that is really just a draft, to go through and try to put our own voice. And I'll talk about a couple of other different features in just a second. But then we also proofread each other's letters. And we're really sort of adamant about that, making sure that we're going through and we're sounding genuine in those final products. One of the things you'll notice, one of the features, is you'll see there's 10 bullet points for each of the middle sections of our letters. This is just the way that we go about writing them at Graded. But we don't include 10 bullet points. We only include 3 to 5. What we found was that if we asked ChatGPT to choose 3 to 5 bullet points, we didn't always agree with the choices it was making. So instead, we've asked it to kick out 10 different bullet points. And we found that the sweet spot is when it starts to maybe repeat some information, when it starts to sort of spin on its heels a little bit to come up with those bullet points. And then we go back through and edit, condense, eliminate, put in our own words, different components of the letter of recommendation. So again, takes my process from 3 hours or so to probably 45 minutes. I found this year I'm a little bit more, because of so many of these conversations, I'm a little bit more wary, and I'm taking closer to an hour for each one of my letters, but still that's saving me an incredible amount of time. Again, that we in my office have been very deliberate in turning back to our students.
Jeff, a question about, I know that was your information, so sharing your own name there, obviously you had given consent for that. Can you talk a little bit about data security there in the information that you're sharing? Are you cautious about that?
Yes, very cautious. And I've had many conversations, both with our previous IT director and a number of other people in that space in data privacy. And within ChatGPT, it's gotten a little bit more sophisticated in terms of its data protection and data controls. But there's a very simple way to go through and remove the ability to share what you are putting into ChatGPT to the mothership, so to speak, to the hive mind. So it's not in there permanently. One of the other things that we do is we go and redact student names before we do that, just out of fear that maybe there would be a breach. One of the people that I spoke with said that ChatGPT's security measures are more secure than Google, and schools across the world have gone all in on Google products. But on occasion, we do hear that there was a breach, a lapse, something happened where information was leaked. So we do that just as another safeguard to prevent that student's name from being directly associated with the information that's in the letter.
Yeah, that's great best practices. And I love that reminder that you can actually go into settings on ChatGPT and toggle the option to not send all of your information up to the mothership, as Jeff called it. A couple things. Here we are almost halfway through, and I've not mentioned the Q&A box, but I do see people have found that, and that's excellent. And I hope this conversation is sparking some questions in you, and I hope that you'll share those with us, and because this is an excellent opportunity to hear from people that are actually using this and seeing this being used daily. I do want to share the results of the latest, that last poll, and I think this is just really the last questions that we just talked about really touched on this. You know, the concern about authenticity. I think Jeff really showed how that letter could still be authentic. Also showed that we're not removing the human from this process at all. The human is still central to this letter. And that's what really keeps that authenticity there, is making sure that final product is really something that the counselor or the educator, the person writing that letter, has put their own thoughts, their own feelings. You know, they know that student, and that letter reflects that. And the second biggest concern here was privacy and data. And I think, you know, Jeff also touched on that one. So that was great. I think it's a good, actually, let's give one more question, hearing from Becky and Elena before we bring Lily in to share another tool here. But the question that I want to ask you two is, you know, Becky, you touched on equity and access, and how, you know, I mean, that's something that I've seen in my work all the time. You receive all kinds of letters of recommendation, and it's very clear some counselors have a lot more time than other counselors to create that letter. At least that's the impression the letter is getting. And oftentimes when you look at the schools where they came from, that is what is reflected of, you know, a caseload that manager or that counselor, that educator had. How are you viewing, you know, moving in, you probably experienced this already last season. You're going to experience this a lot more this season. How do you view letters that are clearly kind of written with the assistance of AI? And we can't always tell. I think, you know, those letters coming from Jeff's team, they don't look like they're AI, you know, assisted. Those are human created letters. But there are counselors out there that don't have that level of sophistication that Jeff has yet. Unfortunately, they haven't gotten training in how to, you know, use these tools. Many times they're using these tools much like Google, because that's how we're all trained. We all understand how to ask Google questions. And if you ask an AI tool, you know, create a letter of recommendation for my student Paul, and make sure it's really strong, you're going to get a letter, but what you're going to get back is not going to be of quality, because you haven't used the tool in the right way. How are admission counselors going to view those kinds of letters in this admission cycle, when, you know, a counselor who has a lot, or an educator who has a big, you know, caseload, they've discovered this tool, but they're just not quite using it appropriately? Are we going to, you know, is that going to reflect badly on the applicant? What do you think about that?
Sure. So I'm happy to start on that one. I think for starters, we see so many differences in letters of rec to begin with, right? And that's kind of the baseline. And that might be public versus private school. That might be caseload. That might be how much the school counselors are required to interact with a student or not, or how much the student shares. But one thing I will say for us that we notice is that when we have our school counselors contact us and say, I'm just overwhelmed, you know, what do you need? What do you need me to say in that letter of rec? We will often say, and I can't say that this runs for every university, I want to be really clear on that, but for us, we're happy with bullet points. It's okay. So a lot of times we're starting to see a migration in structure of those letters of rec. That's actually kind of an important thing. So I think the combination between using some baseline AI tools, such as Jeff demonstrated, and understanding that, you know, there is an evolution of that letter of rec as far as structure. It doesn't necessarily need to be, like I said, that 3-page documented paragraph setup. For us, for those students, for those school counselors that have the huge loads, we will often tell them, for us, we are happy with bullet points. An introductory section, bullet points saves a lot of time. It's also very clean for us to read. We can oftentimes tell if there's something stand out, and that works well with the demonstration that Jeff just gave. I sat on a panel for Common App last year on letters of rec, and there was a phenomenal panelist who did their PhD at Harvard on letters of recommendation. Strongly push that. She had some incredible research that she published on the levels of bias, as we all know, in letters of rec. I will say AI, in the small areas that I've seen it, actually eliminates a little bit of that. If you're getting your baseline from your AI tool, you can then go in, add, subtract, edit as you choose. You're not inadvertently leaving things out. And that was sort of the piece that we liked and we started to see in a couple of places. So for those that are not at an advanced level with AI, I think baseline use is okay. We always want the school counselor to go back and read it. And we like to think that everyone does. But mistakes happen in letters all the time, whether you're using AI or not. Wrong names, wrong schools, maybe a wrong story, that comes through. So I tell our colleagues often, please don't stress too much, dabble, right? Start low, put a few in, test it, see if it's helping, depending on the structure in that office and what you need to do for your letter. For us, we're more than happy for that tool to be in place. And again, it's not taking the place of a human. It's allowing you to provide clarity in some areas that otherwise you'd be very strained for time.
And the one thing I'll add to that, and Becky, you hit the nail on the head, but one thing I'll add, Emily, is when you think about it and we're really honest about it, like sometimes students have tutors that help them with their essays. Sometimes they can pay for consultants. There are all these different things that over the years, some students have had access to that others have not. And there was no penalty. So first and foremost, let me say this. We never penalize a student in the admission process for a bad recommendation or poorly written or something like that. That would never happen. But many students have had, for lack of a better word, a little bit of a leg up in their preparation with applications. And we didn't know the difference, whether it be the essay or whatever else. So I think with the recommendations, that Becky makes some really good points, that it is helpful, people can review it, and that it mirrors what they know of the student and want to submit.
Yeah, thanks for bringing up that really important point, Elena. Some students have had access to additional help since the beginning of admissions, and this is a new technology that I think is actually offering more students access to some quality counseling when it's used appropriately, and that's a great intro to our next poll here. Do you think that AI-assisted letters of recommendation will positively impact equity in admissions for underrepresented students? There has been, questions. I don't know if you've heard about the digital divide, that there are questions, yes, this could create more access to students, but students have to have access to AI in order to benefit from this. So, counselors who have access to being trained, those that are attending this webinar, they're a leg up over counselors who don't have that ability today to pull away for an hour, don't have that flexibility. So there's a lot out there, but that can help counselors, that can help students. And I feel like these are just one more tool that can hopefully provide some access, but it will depend on how we distribute those tools, how counselors approach using those tools. And I think that's here. I'll end the poll and share the results. And that's definitely, we're uncertain, but we do feel like it could help level the playing field as a whole. I want to bring Lily into the conversation now, because when I have been talking to counselors, this tool, the tool that Lily's going to share with you, has come up more than a dozen times. When I start talking about letters of recommendation, usually a counselor would tell me, well, I tried to do it myself. The results weren't that great. And that's often because I understand, they weren't quite sure how to write that prompt to get a good letter. Then the next thing they tell me is, but then I found this tool that College Vine has, and I tried it out and I was amazed. That's usually what I'm told there. So Lily, there are people in the audience that have not seen this tool before. I'm wondering, can you just share, just quickly show us how this tool works and what it could do for our community of educators here today?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me today. Just a quick little background about College Vine. If you haven't heard about us, our goal has always been to increase access to higher education for all students. And so we offer a variety of free tools for students, as well as high school counselors. So I'm really glad that this conversation has been centered around equity today. But so this is our free AI rec letter assistant, and we also have a connected brag sheet that comes with it. It's at collegevine.com/rec letters, and I'll send that into the chat. Hold on, I think I don't know if it came through, but if not, I know someone who is helping us today on the webinar will get that out to you. But this is what it looks like. I would encourage you all to sign up for a free account to have the just full access to all the tools. And again, everything here is free. There are no limits. Again, like, you know, AI does cost money to run, but we want to support counselors in advocating for their students. So none of the tools for students or counselors will cost any money. And so I'm just going to enter in a sample student with some information pre-filled out, but you can see on the sidebar that you can select what this letter is for. So it can be anything from general college admissions to scholarships to specific schools or programs. And then you have space to fill out background information about the student, so profile and educational goals. If you have a brag sheet already, you could copy and paste those details in the box right here, but this is the connected one on CollegeVine, which I'll also quickly show you. And then space for background and environment. And then some of the best tools are at the bottom. So this customized section, this particular box lets you match your writing style based on a past letter of recommendation. So that's really key because a lot of the stuff that comes out of, you know, ChatGPT or just generic AI sounds like AI. It uses kind of like general AI language. And so this can actually match your writing style based on the past letters that you've written. And then you also have options for length and tone. We know sometimes, you know, letter of recommendation might be a little bit more of a reference letter. And then sometimes you have students who, you know, they're really the best you've seen in years. And so we want to give you options for that as well. And then finally, this additional instructions box, I would say, is the most underused. This really gives you space to put in any extra formatting options or any content options that you are looking for. So I know we mentioned earlier that admissions committees actually don't mind bullet points and sometimes prefer it. So you can actually say, you know, please use bullet points in the body of the letter in this section, or you could say, please call out this specific story or focus more on academics, or please make sure you mention, you know, this specific instance in the brag sheet. So anything that you want can go here. And then all you have to do is click generate. And you can see that this comes out with a draft in less than 30 seconds. And again, we do expect and encourage counselors to take this and then edit it, ensure that the content, the language is all what they, you know, that really suits them and is truly advocating for the student. We really just wanted to make this tool because we know counselors are spending hours and hours, sometimes staring at blank screens, using a lot of their personal time. Counselors have told us that this has given their winter breaks back. Someone came up to one of my teammates at NACAC and said, thank you so much for this tool. I haven't had winter break in 20 years. And they finally had a winter break last year. So yeah, this is the rec letter tool. And then I'll just quickly also show you the brag sheet tool that's connected to this. You don't have to use the brag sheet to use the rec letter tool, but it just makes things a little bit easier because then you're not copying and pasting that information. The student will fill it out directly and then you can click generate letter. But you can edit the questions, you can add your own questions, and then it looks like this from the student view. It looks like a Google form. They don't know that you're using AI. And then you can share it with them with a link or by email. And then that's where they pop up in your dashboard here, and you can generate a letter directly. You can also send them reminders. But yeah, that's kind of a quick overview of our tool here, and happy to answer any questions or yeah.
Thanks, Lily. A question that I know multiple audience members have right now is the data issue, data security. You know, putting this information in there, and of course, you know, there's best practices. Jeff talked about that. You know, redacting some of the information. You know, but putting information into that CollegeVine tool, is it safe? I understand that would be accessible for sure by CollegeVine. You know, does that go up into a bigger system, the bigger cloud, or can you talk a little bit about the safety there?
Yeah, sure. So our brag sheet and our rec letter assistant, they are FERPA compliant. So any information that the student enters into that tool is private to the counselor. So no one else is seeing that information. It's not, you know, being sold anywhere. that information is secure and private. And yeah, we know that a lot of times the rec letters will need to include really sensitive information. And we know that this is a concern for counselors and districts. And so, yeah, we've taken the steps to ensure that that student data is secure.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks a lot for that, Lily. Jeff, could you come back on too? And Lily, you could stay on as well. And you know, Elena and Becky, if you want to come on as well. A question came in just now, and I think it's a good question. Are you in this process, and you know, Lily, you can think about this as well. You know, are you worried that, you know, parents and students are going to be not happy that now their counselors are not writing these letters? I mean, is there a concern there? Probably, Jeff, your best, you know, you've probably had conversations, I'm guessing, maybe with some parents about this. Maybe parents don't know how you're using these tools, but you know, these are letters where a student's future is depending on this, you know, on this letter. Are there concerns there?
Sure. Understandably, yes. I think that it's only natural for people to question it. But one of the things that we were able to do at the beginning of last year, and then again at the beginning of this year, you know, being here in Sao Paulo in the global South, we opened school quite a bit earlier than most other Northern Hemisphere schools. So we've to date, you know, 8 weeks into the school year, have had nearly 200 universities visit us. So what we do is we spend a lot of time talking to them. And last year, what we did is we showed 3 different letters to a slew of different visiting college representatives, showing one that was written entirely by a human, one that was entirely written by AI, and one that was written, drafted by AI and then edited by a college counselor. And the university reps could not tell the difference between the one written entirely by human and the one written by artificial intelligence, then edited by a counselor. They could easily tell which one was written by artificial intelligence. And so we've been able to kind of leverage that in our conversations with concerned parents about, you know, look, we're ending up at the same place that we would otherwise. And one of the other things that has kind of come about is the students themselves kind of indirectly are supporting our cause because they're talking about their college counselor an awful lot more because they're spending a lot more time with us because of the use of these tools for us. But we've been able to sort of palliate those concerns from parents in particular.
Thank you. And Lily, I think a last question for you here. Is there a way to make that letter really sound like the counselor? If a counselor's written, you know, previous letter, you know, like has written for 10 years and they want this letter to sound like them, is it possible to, you know, give an example of the letter that they've written or make it kind of sound like them? You're muted.
Yes, absolutely. So there was a section in the sidebar under customize. You just scroll down a little bit and a counselor can take a past letter that they've written and paste it into the tool and have it match the writing style of that letter. And so, yeah, that's really key because, you know, like Jeff was saying, it's very obvious when a letter is just completely generated by AI. And so with this extra customization feature, the draft that comes out is already, you know, even closer to matching a more personalized letter.
Yeah. And I know that's really important to our educators because, you know, for the newer educators who are writing these letters, a lot of times they, you know, they don't have the, you know, that kind of style. But when I've talked to somebody who has done it for even just a few years, one of their biggest concerns is that, well, I have a certain style to the way I write. I have a certain way of writing these letters, and I don't think that this tool can do it like that. And what I have always said to those educators is, have you given it samples of your writing and asked it to, you know, create something that looks like that? And by and large, they haven't tried that step. So it's nice to hear that your tool has that. Lily, there's some questions that have come in that I'm wondering if you could look at and maybe answer some of them. They're just kind of specific questions, typing the answer in the Q&A box, because if they're just College Vine specific questions, if you could answer those, that would be great so that we can get more of those answered. Not necessarily live, but you can answer those. And if audience members are curious, I think they can see those answers that are typed there. Jeff, another question that came from the audience. When you're doing this for 50 to 100 students, does that 40th letter sound the same? I mean, does it get repetitive where, you know, you're submitting these letters to a school and it's like they all kind of sound a little bit repetitive?
No, they really don't. We don't really have that issue. We haven't had that. There's another question a little farther down about vocabulary. Does it continue to reuse the same words? And we don't find that. If we did, we would edit it on the other end. So it's not a real concern for us. But because the primary data source for us is the student brag sheet, the ways in which the student talks about themselves. If there were repetition, it would be because we have multiple kids using the same words to describe themselves in the same way. So we haven't had that much of an issue with that. But I would say that, sometimes we feel like it's just not capturing the essence of a kid in that first draft. And we do things like what Lily suggested. We've included previous letters. We've also included another question that came in is, do you ever ask for parents to participate in the brag sheet? We have in the past included parent questionnaires. Sometimes we'll include a teacher's letter of recommendation, more to kind of suss out and flesh out what this kid is all about. And we haven't found that more is necessarily better, but we have found that sometimes it does aid a little bit in that process.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. Elena and Becky, I want to ask you, there's educators in the room that are listening to this and they're encouraged by what they're hearing, but they're still feeling really hesitant about wading into, the waters of using this new technology. What kind of advice would you give them? Because for many of these people, they hear Jeff talking about this and it sounds really awesome, but they're concerned that, they're going to submit these letters and then you guys are the ones seeing it. And, what other advice would you give to those people in the room that are ready to start, but feeling really concerned about how universities are perceiving the use of these tools?
I guess one quick recommendation is that, like for my university, if a school counselor wanted to do this, but wanted to give it just a try before sitting in something official, I would either send it to the admission officer or to me. I think we're more than happy to glance over it and give good feedback, like, oh my gosh, this works perfectly, or I would add these things. Because I can imagine I remember personally when I started using it for grad school, ChatGPT, I was really quite a little scared, okay, how is this gonna work? And then all of a sudden, the more you use it, the more it becomes your buddy, and that's something that helps enhance. So I think getting someone to take a look at it and getting an opinion from the other side.
I think that's great advice. And I will just say I second what Elena's saying is contact one of the schools that is potentially, a feeder connection where you have a standing relationship with someone. If you're really uneasy, and we're always happy to take a look at it. Universities like to partner with school counselors. We have our colleagues and we're always eager to take a peek. The other thing I was just kind of writing some notes down is, ultimately that so many school counselors have had a format that they're kind of plugging information into over the years. And we've seen that decade after decade. And, I know when I read a file from a particular school, I know it's going to come in a certain format because that's what that office or that individual has used, right? And I don't find the use of AI with the human touch on it all that much different, except for the fact that it really can save a bit of time. And sometimes you hit a roadblock, right? By your 130th letter of recommendation that season, how else can you phrase the following so that it kind of gets that creativity going? And so I think there's also that small benefit when individuals are using it. The other thing is a couple of the questions, I'm going to try to answer a few of them at once. To Jeff's point on the parent or supporter information, for us and for a lot of institutions, we really want the perspective of the individuals who see those students in school, right, day to day. So, each individual university is different. For us, I would not want to have any sort of parent influence if possible. Usually we see things that the school counselor knows about the student that maybe the parent doesn't know, all types of things. But the way we see someone describe, we can understand the relationship there. And then the other piece is that to see the difference between, if you have 30 or we have some schools that send us 200 applications from the same school, the difference is we know when the student has a standing relationship with a school counselor, We can see that in the letter of recommendation in a minute. And that is not lost by the use of AI, because you're just getting that baseline, right? That structure, you're hitting the points. And then if the school counselor goes back in and wants to add, subtract, modify, it's still going to have that unique touch to it, but it has potentially saved a lot of time. And again, probably reduced some level of bias as we're moving forward.
Yeah, but in the end, that letter is human generated. I mean, it is, it has that final human touch. That human is saying, this is accurate, this is true, this reflects this, my relationship with the student and who the student is. Thank you for that. I also want to mention, Elena said, send the letter to us. And if you're hearing that and thinking, well, that sounds great, but I don't know who I would send it to, think of our community. Our community is there to help you in this. This is a part of our board. We have more members on our board, and that would be a place where you could get impartial, advice. And I definitely recommend to utilize our community in that way. And I am going to talk a little bit more about our community in a second. Sorry, I just put the link for our group and also our website, edhub.ai. That's how you could get connected with us. I do want to launch another poll here asking you, what do you think is going to change in the future here with letters of recommendation? Is it going to become the norm? Are humans still going to be part of that process? There's not going to be much change, or AI is just going to disappear? And this is not what you're hoping, it's actually what you think is going to happen here. So yeah, as we are as we're finishing up that poll there, any last thoughts from our panel here before I do want to talk a little bit about our community and what we have in store in the future? But any other things that you would like to share with the audience before we go here? Jeff, do you want to start us off?
I can't think of much more, but what I would say is, one of the really exciting parts for us is the ways in which we're able to use artificial intelligence with our students in a responsible and effective way. One of the examples that I love to give is having students take their own brag sheet and ask artificial intelligence to create a elevator pitch about themselves that they can then use in different ways to see objectively what the artificial intelligence is saying based upon what they've said about themselves. I love the story where I say we gave this to our seniors and asked them to review, and immediately some of our students just started typing, and I walked over and I was like, what are you doing? And they said, well, I didn't like what it said, so I realized I have to go back and do a better job on my brag sheet. So there's a lot more sort of iterative processes that can kind of take place that can help a counselor out.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jeff. It's really not a black and white process. And I think that's hard. We wish it was, it would be nice to say, this is how you use it. And this is, concrete ways, but it's really, it's gray. And there's many new ways that we're all discovering that this can be used there. Any final thoughts for our community, Elena?
Just what we alluded to earlier is that the more that we use this technology, the less the fear. But I think we're still in that really interesting portion where there is maybe a little bit more fear or unknown than feeling comfortable with it. And so not only our group, Emily, but folks on this webinar, we're going to be the people that help our neighbor in the office know this is something you should try. This is something you should embrace, and it's only going to help us in the end.
Yeah, and I loved your comment earlier of, the newest person in the office is the person that's using it. And I always say, if you want to learn how it's being used in your office, go to the newest employee because they're using it. They're not telling you about how they're using it because, unless you've asked and you're, creating a warm space for them to share. But I can guarantee you they're finding creative and new ways to use it. It's not the person that's been in your office for 15 or 20 years because their processes work and they are set in their ways. It's really those newer employees. Becky, let's hear from you. And then Lily, I also want to hear from you before we finish here. So Becky.
Sure. Thank you. All my colleagues here have made very valid points and I love it. I think the big thing is, as resources are becoming more strained in education, particularly certain systems, and at the same time, we're seeing, the rapid evolution of technology. This is one of those spaces where I think folks can comfortably wade in and understand, the human still has control over what is going on, but it allows us to continue to provide a high level of service to the students. And so again, we do not foresee, education budgets skyrocketing anytime soon. Those caseloads get larger and larger, but there are other things that students could benefit from more. As Jeff said, this has opened up time in his space so that he can do more one-on-one or other activities with the students. And I think that's the thing, that's the trade-off. We allow for a little bit of technology to come in, something that we feel can be done in a safe and healthy way. It opens up time to be more productive in the areas that count so much without sacrificing what the colleges and universities need from you as the individual that's working with the students on a regular basis.
And I think our last poll reflected what you just shared, Becky, that people also feel that the human is going to stay central in this process. And I think that is, at least for the foreseeable future, we all have very important work here. But, in terms of how our time is spent within that work, I think we're going to be able to see some really positive changes come about from this technology. Lily, any last thoughts from you?
Yeah, sure. I think one thing that we're just really excited about at College Vine is how we can use AI to make the admissions process easier for both counselors and students. And I know there's been a big discussion on, are we taking this human aspect away from this rec letter writing process? But we've also seen how, using this technology allows there to be more human interaction in other spaces. So Becky was just talking about how counselors get more time with their students face to face. And then again, we've heard from so many counselors that they're getting their weekends back with their families, they're getting their evenings, they're getting their winter breaks back. So I think it's just kind of important to look at everything really holistically and see how, it's not just impacting this one letter of recommendation writing process, but it's impacting people's personal lives as well.
Thank you, Lily, and thanks to all our panelists. I really appreciate you all being here. I don't think I clearly stated at the beginning, I'm Emily Pacheco from Loyola University, Chicago. I always launch into these things without making that clear because I'm not the important one here today. It was clearly our panelists, so I did introduce them. I do want to share some additional initiatives that we have coming up at AICA. This was our first webinar. We were really excited. This is launching what we see as really a whole series of webinars and educational opportunities for you to dive deeper into this topic in many different ways. We actually just populated our calendar with 2 additional webinars this week. We put them on the calendar. We have one coming up for admission counselors, so really looking at how AI can help those road warriors, those counselors in their day-to-day recruitment work. And then we're doing one on chatbots in early December, looking at the different options and how you could start exploring those options. And then we're also going to have a webinar on effective prompting, looking at how this is very different than Google and how we can start training our brains to interact with these tools in a new way. So we do hope that you will stay tuned. We don't have the registrations up yet for the December 5th or December 10th events, but you can register right now on our website for the October 25th event. That will take you directly to our LinkedIn group. You can visit us online at edhub.ai. That's where you can check out all of our advisors, including our panelists today, and you can get involved there. I'm posting a lot of stuff on LinkedIn, so I do hope that you will join our community. Thank you so much. I want to also just a shout out to Jasmine behind the scenes. She's making all of this happen, the tech happen there and making our polls happen today. So thank you for her help as well. Hope you all have a great rest of your week. Thanks again for joining AI in college admissions for our first webinar. Have a good one. Bye.